Hey guys, to help run the forums, host the website, and travel, we've introduced a universal service fee for in-depth coverage, including this video. My goal is to be unbiased and transparent. It's a privilege to serve you. This is not an endorsement. Let's get into it. Guys, we are back in Seattle and I'm super excited because Rad Power Bikes, they've got the RadMini, right? And this has been a really fun folding electric fat bike. They've really just upgraded this thing in all kinds of different ways. They have a new Step-Thru model, and that's really exciting to me because it's even more approachable, and they've done a lot. Like at first glance, you're like, okay, you know, it's a Step-Thru, but the tires are different. They've got reflective sidewall stripes. They've got a blinking light mode. This thing is feature complete. When you think about the option to add fenders, a rack, yep, seat compatible, they do sell that, a front rack with a little light extender. It gets really exciting. I mean, this is like a mini cargo bike, and I'm actually a fan of these tires. They're 20 inches, which is like a smaller diameter, but by 4.25, so they're actually slightly wider than the older ones. These were by 4 inches, and they're knobby, right? So you're kind of getting this, like, there really are some cool differences between the high step and the Step-Thru, and we do have a 2019 version right here as well. So I'm gonna go into some of those differences. Before we do, again, 2018 version, check this out. They had the Tektro Aries mechanical disc brake calipers mounted back here, and you can see how that cable goes right by this rear rack here. It has to go a little bit further and stuff. What they've done is move that. They've repositioned it down on the left chainstay. I mean, it's a small thing, but it makes it a little bit cleaner, right? Like if you're adding that rear rack, maybe you're adding fenders, there's a fender boss right here, but they also have extra bosses, threaded eyelets there, to add your own rack if you don't want to use their proprietary kind of bigger one. The racks are all black in 2019, so it's kind of interesting. They sort of blend in. We can see that over here. We got the black rack. We've got the Yep child seat that fits right into that window. Just really, really well thought out. When you start to get to those kinds of little minor improvements, check out the kickstand mount. I love that it mounts on the inside of that tab, so you aren't gonna get heel strikes and stuff if you're pedaling backwards. Things like that. 180 millimeter mechanical disc brakes from Tektro. I talked about that before. That's probably one of the trade-offs here. They did so much right with this bike. It's still a really good price, in my opinion. A company that has great customer support, 1-year comprehensive warranty with a team of, you know, young people at their headquarters. It's a really fun office. They call, you know, you can pick up the phone and talk to someone and get some help. They've been working with mobile bike shop repairs, and they've even got some of their own programs in the works. So there's just a lot going on with this company. I think they do a great job that way. So you've got something that's kind of value oriented in some ways, but really starting to step it up. And I want to point that out here. We've got this Solo by Spaninga rear light, and it's wired in. Okay, in the past, it wasn't wired in, and I would ask them about that, and it's like, well, you know, a lot of times these are getting shipped. They aren't necessarily sold through stores, although they do have a flagship store in Seattle, somewhere off there in the distance, I guess in Ballard. But that was independent, so you kind of had to turn it on like this, and it had those AA batteries in there. Now it's wired in, so it all runs off of that main rechargeable lithium-ion battery pack, 48 volts, 14 amp hours, and this is a custom battery design that they created for themselves. Again, you'll notice on the older ones, it was kind of back here and still on the current high step. And now they've moved it in front, and they've used the tubing to connect and really reinforce to strengthen it. So you aren't getting kind of this frame flex as you pedal along. This folding joint mechanism right here, this is stainless steel, really big clamp with a little security tab right here. Otherwise, the rest of the frame is all aluminum alloy. It weighs about 68 pounds. So for a folding bike, you might think like that's kind of heavy, and I would agree with you. You can take the battery off, it's about 7.7 pounds right there, so you do reduce the weight significantly. You do also have quick release on that front wheel, and because they're using, check this out, Rad Power Bikes, so they've got their own branding on these Kenda, I think it's Craze, right? Reflective sidewall stripes. It's got the K-Shield puncture protection. They're a little bit heavier. So taking off the battery, taking off that wheel, you can fold this down, make it pretty compact. Maybe you've got an RV or something like that. I'm kind of bouncing around here because there's a lot that's just really exciting about these bikes, and bringing down that wheel size, the 20 inches, it just makes it so approachable. I think the standover height here, like it's like 16 inches or something, and then the minimum saddle height, they've really gone as low as they could. Check this out, bigger seat clamp lever there, really easy to use. So, you know, right now it's a little cold out, my fingers and stuff, having that bigger lever makes it a lot easier to adjust. When you take that saddle down, that's like 29 inches, super low. You can just like walk right over the bike like this, and go. And that's awesome to me. It's very approachable. And then Step-Thru, if you do have like a child seat on the back or something, this is a unique bike. There just really isn't a lot on the market that's like this, especially at this price point, especially with all the accessories that they offer. So for me, that's very exciting. But coming back to the way they designed it, just making it very approachable, also fairly sturdy, and they've included a 350 millimeter seat post so you can raise it really high if you want to. And for me, that's nice because I want to get the full leg extension. They've adjusted this is a telescoping stem, so it's a little bit more limited. It used to go a little bit taller, but there's actually like kind of an end point now. You can't go too far, and that's going to keep you from stretching these out. It also keeps it feeling really sturdy, and they've got a little stem on the top here that's, I think it's the same stem as on the Rad Rover, some of their other bikes. So standard 31.8 millimeter clamp diameter, which means you could shade out these handlebars if you wanted to, and just kind of adjust this thing. Faux leather, ergonomic grips, really nice saddle. I like these saddles, and I'm not just saying that because there are all kinds of like Cellar Royale and really nice stuff, but this actually feels cool. Feels nice when I was riding over here. It doesn't have a suspension seat post by default, but that is something you can upgrade through the website. It does have a handle, so you can kind of lift it. That might help you fold this thing a little bit easier. And then coming up to the front here, we do have the headlight, which can either be mounted to the rack, in which case it's not going to point where you steer, but by default, this is like the naked version. It does point where you steer, which is nice. And they've got this sort of raised bracket, which I think, you know, if you have the fenders and stuff and maybe you don't get the front rack, it wouldn't be blocking it and creating shadow. I like that. This is another area where they paid close attention. It's kind of knurled. It's got these little like ribs on it so that it's not going to get bumped side to side. A lot of times I see these lights getting kind of knocked out of position and maybe vibrating a little bit because it's on the sprung portion of the suspension versus up here. And I asked him about that. I was just talking to Mike, one of the founders here, and he was like, well, you know, we did think about that, but if you put it up high, then it can kind of be blinding people and it gets a little bit busy. And if you have that front tray rack and you've got one of our bags, the light might be blocked. So they really have thought it through. I like that the light can be adapted and positioned out of the way. I like that it's all wired in. The battery is using high quality Samsung cells. Their charger, I don't know, I think the charger's in my backpack right now, but it's like 1.1 pounds, 2 amps. You know, that's okay. I think it takes like 6+ hours for a full charge if you've completely depleted it. It's a standard charger. So I'm really trying to like pick through here, like what are the trade-offs? But there aren't too many. They've even managed to squeeze in bottle cage bosses for 2019 on the Step-Thru, which is phenomenal. Like very few folding bikes have room for that, and I like it. And a lot of it's because they were able to do this custom frame design. We've got an aluminum alloy chain guide, so that's going to protect your pants a little bit and also keep that chain from falling off while you're pedaling. 12 magnet, high resolution. This is like a cadence sensor, so it's not like a super fancy multi-sensor mid-drive kind of thing, but for a bike like this with a twist throttle, it works out really great. And then these pedals, these are aluminum alloy folding from Welgo, so they do get smaller. Just kind of, there we go. Flicks in like that, stays out of the way when you're folding it up. They're just a little bit sturdier than the plastic ones I see on a lot of other bikes. We've got a slap guard here, and then this amazing DNP. This is nickel coated freewheel in the back. Okay, so pretty high quality. It's something that you can service independently versus a cassette, and it goes 11 to 34 teeth. So you can really see that here. Look at how big that extra tall cog is, and that's going to help you climb. And we did have to do quite a bit of climbing to get to this park here today. I love that they've got a bash guard, or kind of a derailleur guard protector, and it's keeping the power cable from getting snagged and stuff if the bike tips over, also protecting the derailleur. And that's like a shorter cage, so might not get bumped as easily. The ground clearance on this isn't quite as good as something that's like really full size with bigger wheels, but that's just the name of the game. One of the advantages of having a smaller wheel diameter is that you get a mechanical advantage, and this is 750 watt nominally rated, actually continuously rated. I was trying to go through this. There are a lot of details when you're studying a bike like this, but this is actually a custom motor that Rad Power Bikes has teamed up with Bafang. You can see their branding right on it. So 750 watt continuous. This is planetary gear design, but it's not super loud, and you might hear that later when we're on the ride test. Extra thick black spokes, the rims, everything. So when you have a smaller wheel diameter and a really powerful motor, this gets right up to the legal limit. It climbs very, very well. It's incredibly capable. And then there's their controller. So they've sort of separated out. I think their battery packs are like $550 if you want to replace those and they replace independently versus having a controller built in. So this is somewhat modular, and a lot of this is just, it's getting more and more dialed in because they have volume and they have more control, and they have excellent designers at the company. So this is Mike Radbo. How's it going, dude?
Hey, good guys. How are you?
Did I pronounce your last name right?
You got it. Very nice job.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. I love hanging out with you because we've been friends for a long time, and I've seen the progression of your designs. A lot of this is kind of you, like going to China and.
Yeah.
Right?
We have a pretty big design team now that works on these new bikes, and both blends the old with the new. So like a lot of stuff you were describing, we're really excited to be able to offer just a ton of new values this year across all of our bikes, and more standardization really allows us to bring like the 1134 tooth DMP freewheel, like when
that's on all your bikes.
Right. And when it's on all the bikes, we can just barely afford squeezing it onto our product, where before it was too expensive of a component. So just things like that. It's nice when it's what we call value innovation, which is being innovative in our business model and our strategy and our product design to basically stoke out our customers.
But it's neat that there's this new model. Have people been, it seems like, excited to have a more approachable folding mini bike versus this one? This is the 2019 high step, right? So the minimum standover is a little bit higher.
Yeah, you got it, Fred. It's all black. it's got knobby tires on it, which is just really a fun bike for a lot of people.
But those tires, they actually had good grip because it's a little wet out today, and I wasn't sliding around.
Yeah. The Craze is a really well-proven tire, and so we've also added the K-Shield technology and the reflective striping to it. So it's a really cool tire for basically just urban cruising.
Okay, well, this is the completely accessorized version over here, and you got these plastic fenders that are really, they're a little bit thicker, it seems like, than a lot of the fenders where sometimes they rattle. That hasn't been an issue. I actually rode this bike over just to see how it felt, and I could ride with no hands, and it felt stable because of the wider tires, and it didn't flex as much as I was expecting for kind of a step-through.
Yeah, this bike's really shocking when a lot of people first see it, right? It's really, really robust and rugged, but it folds in half and gets very compact. So the fenders, they made out of a TPO plastic, which is a really, really durable plastic. You're not going to have the banging of aluminum fenders or the denting of aluminum or steel fenders
or rust. Right.
So it's a nice benefit there.
Very nice. Can you explain to me again, Mike, why, I tried to do it, like the cable's not in the way as much, and maybe it's stronger, like the way you change that up?
Yeah, so this enables the manufacturing process to be a little bit more streamlined. It also protects the brakes and also makes for adjustability to be a lot easier. So now we have conical washers on all of the brakes to help make the tuning process easier. So that basically able to stabilize the rotor or the caliper more easily.
Conical washer, so it's like a cone, and it just keeps it like as you tighten it down.
Yeah, so it enables some play in the adjusting process.
Oh, and that way you're not getting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sweet. The other thing I noticed is that you've got a torque arm back here, and maybe you always have, but that's a good thing considering how much power. This is up to 80 Newton meters on that motor, right?
Yeah. So this has always been something, I think we've really pioneered this in the industry because we came from a high power background.
Yeah.
As we had big torque arms on all of our early bikes, and so this is a smaller torque arm, but it's still much more. We take a lot further degree than other brands maybe do that are using hub motors, where this is, in our opinion, a necessary component when maybe someone has replaced a flat tire and they haven't torqued down their axle nuts properly.
Yeah.
This is an extra level of security.
Because otherwise it can spin and you can mess up the cable. Speaking from experience here, so that's awesome. And I little things like I love the lever being bigger, and that's a big deal. And then you've got the support arm. Can you fold this up? Because we were looking at this before. Look at this. There's a big gusset right here for added strength, and right here. And the inside of the frame is also really cool to look at. Yeah. It's a little muddy. We're trying not to wreck the grass here. There we go. Beautiful.
This will give you a look at the kind of inside. So.
Oh, nice. So check this out, you guys. There's like these slots, and I don't know, it plugs in, and so maybe the torsional, it's going to make it a little bit stronger?
Yeah, you bet. So that folding whole junction there, because it's all meeting in one point like that, we really kind of went overkill to make sure the experience it's still a very rigid bike.
Yeah.
And it feels extremely durable when you're out cruising around.
Internally routed cables. Look at that.
Yeah. Yeah, and then little attention to detail too, like having a large radius corner here just to make sure your wires never get pinched. But we always really advise folks to take a look and make sure that when they are folding the bike back up that everything's tidy and that there's no pinching happening. So that's the one disadvantage of internally routed cables on a folding bike.
That's a good point. I've seen some other ones where they just like tack them on the outside, but they could still kind of get pinched, and then
so we do that on the the 2019 RadMini High Step.
Oh, so they are still external.
And we do that because it also kind of speaks more to the customer base there, where it's a more of a raw looking bike.
Yeah.
And also it's a little bit easier to service in that way. And so there are advantages and disadvantages, but on the low step, we felt like internally routing was the right move, just for cleanliness, simplicity, and that super low step like you were describing.
When the paint job here, so you've got these gray marks that they look really cool, but I'm guessing also if you step through this thing and you've got muddy shoes, it's not going to look as dirty, right? It's like a nice little aesthetic.
Yes, that's a 2-for-1. It takes what it would be a very, very white bike. It's a pearl color, which is nice. Satin pearl, but it kind of makes the bike both a silver bike and a white bike all at once, so that because we only have a limited number of colors.
Oh, that's true. One size, one color on this bike, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the white. But it does look, it does look pretty cool to me, and I'm a guy with sensitive knees and hips, so I like the approachability and just how low that seat can go. Is there anything, so you do still sell the High Step, and that one might be a little less frame flex, or what are the advantages? Just the tires?
So it's really just has a lot to do with aesthetics. The riding experience is really similar. It's got the knobby tires instead of the slick tires, but customers can buy the High Step and then purchase the slick tires as an accessory.
Oh, really?
So you can buy either tire option. They fit on both bikes. They work with the same fenders, so it's all cross compatible.
Awesome. Well, there are a ton of accessories and stuff back at the website. I'm actually reviewing that one separately because there are some differences, and I wanted to show how it sounded and stuff. But I'm probably going to jump into the display here in a minute. If you have any questions about length, width, height, weight, the 68 pounds we talked about, back at the website I got all those details. Okay, so I'm going to jump right in on this thing. It's really cool how their batteries have been standardized, because if you get a couple of Rad Power bikes, you could maybe put one of those in your backpack, and at 7.7 pounds and this size, it's really not. Some of the completely internalized batteries that I've been seeing in recent years, like the Power Tube or some of the Broza batteries, they're just longer, right? And so this is still, it's kind of rounded. It's something that you could use on in a pannier or something like that. I like that. But the displays and everything are all kind of the same. So we're up at the handlebars. I love that both brake levers have rubberized edge. You've got this nice bell built in. We got the motor inhibitors and stuff. And then we've got the display, which can swivel forward and backwards to reduce glare, but it's not removable. So keep that in mind. It's going to take some sun, maybe some rain. There's a little USB port at the bottom. I think that's is that 1 amp, 500 or 5 volts? Product manager over there. He's doing a good job. That's Corey. So we were studying this back at the little headquarters building. They've been moving. In fact, they have a really cool flagship store in Seattle. You can go in and try stuff. So the battery is all plugged in and everything. We press mode for a couple seconds. The display comes to life. We've got 5 ticks on that battery infographic, which to me, that's one of the trade-offs with this bike. The display not being removable and also not having 10 ticks or a percentage or range. It's just, you're gonna have to kind of guess. There's 20% steps. It's not as precise. And then over here, we've got our odometer. And I think if we press mode, it goes to trip distance and then back to odometer, right? Speed in the middle in miles per hour right now. We've got pedal assist. You can take it down to 0. And I think even in 0 mode, the throttle still works. So this can be like a throttle-only electric bike. Or you can turn it off, and that's so cool, because sometimes you don't want to accidentally bump that. It can be a safety thing. So being able to turn that on and off is great, and that's why they've gone with this big, thumb shifter, SIS index thumb shifter. Not my favorite hardware. I like the trigger shifters a little bit better, but these work great if you have gloves or something. And then again, coming back to just the cassette and having that extra wide sprocket for climbing, 11 tooth, that's going to help you maintain the 20 miles per hour a little bit easier. So I think they've done a really great job on the drivetrain. Otherwise, we press up. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So different levels of assist, more or less kind of zippy and more power used. Holding up and down gets you into the settings menu, which is really cool. So you can change the wheel size or kilometers per hour or miles per hour, all that kind of stuff. And then just hold mode to exit. To get the lights to work, you hold up and mode simultaneously. So you can see that the display is actually backlit, and there's a little light icon, and that's when the lights get going up here. And it looks like you can even...
The light will dim in full daylight and then get brighter at night.
He's saying it'll dim in full daylight. So the light, even when it's on, it sort of responds to the conditions. That is so cool. And then this is my favorite part back here. So the light's on right now. If I squeeze those brakes, it goes to bright, and there's a little button on the bottom, and it can even go to like flashing mode. So many electric bikes don't have lights, don't have integrated lights, and don't have flashing. So I really feel like this is one of the things that makes this bike very special. We've spent a bunch of time on this. You know, there's a lot to share. Do you feel like I missed anything, Mike?
No, it's as always very comprehensive.
Pretty thorough.
I don't know how you memorize all these things so quickly.
Well, I do my best. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to be excited about. These bikes have been really popular and just approachable and fun. And I like that you're still carrying the one with the knobby tires and kind of the high step, because you're right, it does have a cool aesthetic and it could be a good his or hers. Does this one only come in black then?
It does, yeah.
It does.
Just this one color.
So black and white. Okay.
Yeah.
Keeping it real.
Yeah.
Can you help me? The charger's in my backpack and I want to show people. Will you help me out with that?
Yeah, you got it.
We got this.
Teamwork.
Look at this, guys. So the battery is 48 volts, 14 amp hours, so that's 672 watt hours. That's a high capacity battery. And then the charger at 2 amps, is it easier on the cells?
Yeah, so it's easier on the cells to charge a little bit slower. You know, there's 3, 4, 5 amp chargers out on the market.
Yeah.
But that's usually not very necessary, right? You can bring an extra charger with you to work. You charge at home.
Do you sell these spare?
Yeah, sell them spare. They're $39.99 on the website.
Okay, there's so many accessories. So that's great. I do want to let people know that extreme temperatures can be hard on lithium-ion battery cells. So like extreme cold, extreme heat, if it's in the garage or something, maybe take the battery and put it somewhere that's a little more stable. Try not to drop the battery. They're pretty sensitive, and those $550, it's cheaper than a lot of the competition for a replacement, especially at that size. So I think that's great. Sweet. Will you pop that back in the... Let's do it. We're gonna go. We're gonna go there. Maybe not. I'm gonna hop on this one, stow the kickstand up like this. I'm gonna start it out in the highest level of assist because I like to show you guys what it sounds like, right? It's fairly zippy, but it's not quite as like full on and off as some bikes. It ramps up fairly smoothly, which I was impressed by. Here we go. There we go. And we got hills everywhere around here. Oh yeah. Yeah, so really smooth is how I would describe the motor starting and stopping. And again, being geared motor, it's lighter and a little bit like zippier than some of their gearless. But the benefit of the gearless motors that they have on like their Rad City and stuff, those ones, they're a little bit quieter. They do weigh more, but they have like some regenerative braking going on, which is cool. Tend to be very durable. Looking good. It's a pretty sweet setup. And the tires and stuff, so this is what I was talking about before, they feel very comfortable going over bumps, and they also are stable. So I can ride with no hands like this and feel like the bike isn't gonna tip on me, or I can go across soft, kind of wet grass, or even like some sand and soft kind of maybe leaves or sticks or something kind of loamy without the bike getting out of control. Okay guys, we got a 48 tooth chainring up front, a little bit bigger to help balance out these smaller wheel size so that you're not beating eggs when you pedal. And then back here, 11 to 34 teeth, just really nice to have that huge cassette. Shimano Altus versus something like Tourney. This is a step up in terms of quality. It's great for the price. I think they've done a good job. And then that derailleur guard is going to protect it during shipping, because a lot of times these are being shipped to you. Yeah, they have that store, but you're going to have to unbox this and deal with a little bit of setup. Not too much because it's a folding bike. I'm going to pedal along, and that 12 magnet cadence sensor is going to activate pretty responsively. You'll be able to hear the motor. I'm going to do assist level 5 again, just to make it as pronounced as it would be, but you can definitely arrow down and make it a little quieter. excellent mechanical advantage with those 180 millimeter disc brakes. It shifts smoothly. It's feeling really good. And you know, of course, they set these up perfectly for the reviews and stuff, but it's a good drivetrain and things are working well. So we found this really cool cobblestone hill on our way here, and it's awesome because with these fat tires, it feels pretty comfortable. And these bikes are so capable. That's Mike down there. He's gonna climb up with a smaller wheel diameter and the motor being 750 watts. It's pretty capable. Looking good. I was able to do part of it, and especially these like easier hills with throttle only. I only weigh 135 pounds, but that was sweet, man. And I mean, you didn't have to stand up or anything, so that motor really helps.
Yeah, it's fairly effortless. The small wheels combined with the gear hub motor and that 34 tooth chainring. I mean, you can just like creep up this stuff.
Sweet. And the suspension fork has lockout, which is really nice. So if you're someone who feels like it's bobbing on you, it's not going to get out of control. I like the comfort. For me, comfort's a really big deal. And it's got a pretty wide range on the tire pressure, so you can lower that pressure, get that seat post suspension. There's a lot you can do with these electric bikes. I think that's about it, you guys. This has been a fun tour. I really appreciate your help with some of the specs and folding stuff, Mike. I do have the folded dimensions back at the website too, so if you're trying to figure out if this will fit in your SUV or whatever, this is another little point that I like. Look at this. There's like a little kind of hinge thing, so when you unlock it, it's not just going to come unlocked on its own. Folds down really, really nicely. For the full written review, I'll see you guys back at ElectricBikeReview.com. Have fun out there, stay dry, and ride safe.